In this tutorial, we're going to be covering the user interface for SketchUp. So we're going to get familiar with the things that are presented to you when you start out with a new installation or when you're just getting started with SketchUp. If you've gone ahead and installed SketchUp on your own machine, you'll come across this Welcome to SketchUp window, in which you'll need to add a license to SketchUp and choose a template. If you've ordered your own version of SketchUp from creationengine.com, as we talked about in class, you'll take the information that you've gotten from your activation email once your order's been processed and plug it in here and press OK. Since mine is already licensed, I'll go ahead and cancel out of that. Next, you'll choose a template. There's a wide variety of templates available to you, but the one we'll use in class is Architectural Design Feet and Inches. Once you've chosen that, go ahead and click on Start Using SketchUp. Now this is what you'll see when you first start using SketchUp from a fresh install. And we're going to get familiar first with the persistent UI elements. Now when I say UI, I mean user interface. You'll hear me refer to that quite a bit in this class, so it's something to get familiar with. Now the persistent elements are these. The title bar up here gives you the name of the current project you're working on and the version of SketchUp you're working in. The menu bar, located here, houses all of the individual tools and options available to you in SketchUp. These are great to go through and just get a little bit more familiar with the tools and operations that are available to you in SketchUp. They're categorized by name, and it's a very intuitive system. Just by looking at them, you can tell if you want to work with a camera, you work with the camera menu. If you want to draw, it's going to be under the draw menu. They're very familiar to you from the very beginning. The drawing area, located here in the center, is going to be where you're spending the majority of your time. If you're familiar with the way AutoCAD works, this is essentially your main viewport. The status bar, located down in the bottom left, will update based on whatever tool you're using and give you small tips and tricks, as well as telling you what different modifier keys will do. So this is a great idea to keep an eye on this area when you're modeling, just to see exactly what options are available to you with the current tool you're working with. And down here in the right-hand corner is what's called the VCB. It's called the Value Control Box, and this is the area where you'll be typing in different dimensions and different types of commands that will perform different types of functions in SketchUp. We'll get into this a little bit later, but I want you to be familiar with where it is. Next, we have toolbars. Now this is the next group of things we'll be covering under the UI. These are dynamic UI elements. Dynamic UI elements change based on whatever you're doing with them. You can resize them, you can move them, and they'll also give you different options based on what you're doing. The persistent UI elements never change. Those are always available to you. So under Toolbars, we'll go to View, Toolbars, and we'll actually take a look at a couple of the different toolbars that are available to you. The Getting Started toolbar is the one that comes up by default in SketchUp. Now notice if I drag it up here to the top of my interface, it will dock. Now if I drag it away, I can simply close that again, and I can bring this one over here. This is called the Large tool set. I can drag and resize these as much as I like to. For this class, we're going to be using the Large tool set for most of the time. So I'll make that a dual column, and I'll dock it over here to the side of my user interface. Now if that happens, you can simply drag it away and drag it over to the side and then up. Toolbars, again, are available to you in View, Toolbars, and notice you have quite a few available to you. We'll get more familiar with these as we move through the class, but know that the Large tool set is the one we're going to be using. Now the next area is the Context menu. By right-clicking on any item in SketchUp, you'll notice that a variety of different options pop up when you right-click on an object. This one is called a component, so notice that the context menu displays a variety of different options that all have to do with components. If I just draw a simple rectangle on the ground and right-click on it, notice that all of those component options disappear and they're replaced with different options. So again, the context menu changes based on what type of object you're working with. And lastly, the part of the dynamic user interface that you'll be getting familiar with are dialog boxes. The instructor is the first dialog box that comes up, and what its purpose is to show you what tool you're currently using, the operation of the tool, and the modifier keys that are used with it. So when I change to a tool, let's say the Move Copy tool here, notice that the instructor tells me I'm using the Move tool, tells me how to use it, and what modifier keys I can use to modify its operation. Now dialog boxes can be collapsed by clicking on their name, You can move them around and dock them together if you have multiples, or you can simply close them out. To bring them back, you simply go to the Window menu, and we'll go back and bring back the instructor. So that rounds out the area of dynamic user interface elements. In the next tutorial, we'll be getting familiar with SketchUp's Preferences pane and its Model Info pane, which tell you a little bit more about the way you can change your options in SketchUp itself and the particular model you're working with.